If you love the new Mortal Kombat movies, you should watch Bloodsport. This one is kind of the granddaddy of underground fighting tournament movies. No fantasy powers, no fireballs or teleportation, but you still get that same vibe of warriors coming from all over the world to prove who's the best. Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Frank Dux, and honestly, the guy is just built for this kind of role. The fights feel raw, sometimes a little bit over the top, but always super entertaining. You've got that classic 80s energy, cheesy at times, but in a good way. And the Kumite tournament, that's basically the blueprint for so many movies and games that came after, including Mortal Kombat. So if you're into intense one-on-one fights, iconic training moments, and a very simple but effective story, this is a must-watch. And honestly, if you're in that mood, you could also give The Quest a try for a slightly more adventurous take on the same concept and still with the same, the only, the unique Jean-Claude Van Damme. Kung Fury. But just so you know, this one is way more on the absurd parody side of things. Imagine all the over-the-top elements of Mortal Kombat, but pushed to a completely insane level, with time travel, Vikings, arcade machines, and even Hitler as a Kung Fu master, the Kung Fuhrer. Yeah, it's that kind of movie. It's short, 30 minutes, super fast, and full of that retro 80s neon vibe with cheesy effects that are actually part of the charm. And they even shot a sequel with Michael Fassbender and Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it cannot be released as of today for legal reasons, which is kind of tragic because if it's anything like the first one, it must be completely wild. Street Fighter. Where Mortal Kombat tries to be serious and gritty, Street Fighter just goes full chaos and doesn't even try to hide it. It's colorful, loud, and honestly pretty ridiculous at times, but that's exactly why it's so much fun. I love this one, even if a lot of people think it stinks. You've got all the iconic characters thrown in a way that doesn't care about the original video game. It's goofy and over the top, with colorful characters and ridiculous dialogue. Raul Julia, who played Bison, seems to have a blast, even if it was unfortunately his last role. And the whole thing feels like a chaotic cartoon brought to life. The tone is all over the place, but that's kind of the charm. It's not the most faithful adaptation, not the deepest story either, but if you're in for a fun, cheesy, old school video game movie vibe, this one totally delivers. And if you're really into fighting game adaptations, you could also check DOA, Dead or Alive, and Tekken. Just go with very low expectations because they can be fun in their own way, but yeah, don't expect miracles at all. Mortal Kombat. This is the first adaptation from that video game, and honestly, it still has a special place for a reason. It's way less brutal than the newer version, but it totally nails that arcade game spirit. The characters are iconic, the fights are simple but fun, and the whole movie has that very 90s energy that actually works. And to be honest, that techno soundtrack, absolutely legendary. You'll probably recognize it instantly. So the movie doesn't try to be deep or super dark, it's more about the tournament and just having a good time with these characters. It's cheesy sometimes, sure, but in a very charming way. And if you enjoy it, you can always check out the sequel, Annihilation, which is, let's say, so bad, it actually becomes kind of fun. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Yeah, it might sound like a weird pick at first, but stick with me. This movie basically runs on video game logic, especially fighting games. Every opponent is like a boss fight with their own style, powers, and even intro moment. The whole structure of the movie feels like leveling up through increasingly tougher enemies, just like in Mortal Kombat. The fights are way more stylized, of course, and comedic, with crazy visual effects and hyper energetic editing, but the DNA is kind of the same. And honestly, it's one of those movies that just never slows down. Imagine a teenage rom-com made by someone who played way too many fighting video games. It's super inventive, super playful, and packed with ideas. So yeah, different tone for sure, but if you like that fight progression and game-inspired structure, this one really hits. Ong-Bak II. This one is a bit different from the first Ong-Bak, and honestly, it goes way bigger. It mixes brutal martial arts with a kind of mythological, almost spiritual atmosphere. You've got rituals, ancient beliefs, warrior fighting for honor. It really gives that realm versus realm vibe that Mortal Kombat has. Tony Jaa is once again insanely impressive, doing all his stunts, and the fights feel raw but also very stylized. It's less about a clean story, more about the journey and the intensity of each fight. Sometimes it's a bit messy narratively, sure, but the action is on a whole other level. Arena. This is basically Mortal Kombat before Mortal Kombat, but in space. You've got a human fighter entering an intergalactic tournament where he has to face all kinds of weird alien opponents. So it really does feel like a proto version of Mortal Kombat. The budget is clearly low, the effects are a bit cheesy, but that's part of the charm. The creatures, the costumes, the whole vibe, it's very B-movie, but in a fun way. So don't expect super intense choreography, but the idea itself is just so entertaining. It's one of those hidden little curiosities that fans of tournament fighting stories will probably enjoy a lot. Enter the Dragon. This is the classic, like the classic, when it comes to martial arts tournament movies. Bruce Lee plays a fighter entering a mysterious competition on a private island with a mix of espionage and pure combat. And honestly, you can feel how much influence this had on everything that came after, including Mortal Kombat. The structure, the fighters from different backgrounds, the one-on-one confrontations, it's all here. Even though it's from the 70s, the fight choreography still holds up amazingly well because, well, it's Bruce Lee. No powers, no fantasy, but pure skill and charisma. So if you're a fan of the genre and you haven't seen this yet, you're missing out on the source material that inspired almost every fighting game and movie that came after it. Wu Assassins, Fistful of Vengeance. This one feels like a modern, urban version of Mortal Kombat. You've got ancient powers, chosen warriors, and a lot of supernatural elements, but set in today's world, with gangs and city fights. It's very much a B-movie in spirit, and it knows it. The story is not the strongest, but that's not really the point. The fights are fast, energetic, and sometimes pretty wild. There's that mix of mysticism and street-level action that works surprisingly well. If you like the idea of powers and destiny in Mortal Kombat, but want something more grounded, this is a fun one. Riki-Oh, the story of Riki. Okay, this one is insane. It's basically a martial arts movie turned up to 11 in terms of violence. The fights are extremely graphic, like cartoonishly brutal, with bodies getting destroyed in ways that almost don't make sense, but that's exactly why it's so memorable. It really gives that fatality energy from Mortal Kombat, where every fight can end in something completely over the top. The acting is wild, the tone is all over the place, but it's strangely entertaining. If you're here for the gore and the outrageous side of Mortal Kombat, this one is definitely for you. The Night Comes For Us. This one is pure brutality, from start to finish. It's not about tournaments or fantasy realms, but the level of violence and choreography is just on another level. The fights are incredibly intense, super fast, and often go way further than you expect. It's almost exhausting in the best way possible. There's a real focus on making every hit feel painful, every fight feel like a struggle for survival, and yeah, some moments are so graphic that they really do feel like live action fatalities. If you like the brutal side of Mortal Kombat, this is like that energy pushed to the extreme. So these were my recommendations if you love the new Mortal Kombat movies. If you've seen some of them or if you have other recommendations, please let us know in the comment, and I see you in the next video.